What's up, friends? Coming at you from beautiful New Zealand. In a moment, I want to share a voice message and my thoughts that I just got from one of my mentors who does $10 million a year. But before I get to that, we're in New Zealand. Right now, we're in the hometown I grew up in, a place called Tauranga or Mount Maunganui, New Zealand. I'm actually staying in the house that we lived in just before COVID. Beautiful place, right on the beach, cue B-roll footage. And it's just amazing to be back. And I miss Bali like crazy. It's definitely cold here, but it's kind of good for a change of scenery. We're also running our my first ever in-person event, and we're doing two of them basically back to back if one wasn't hard enough. We're doing one in New Zealand here in this home. 8 or 9 people I think are coming from around New Zealand and Australia. And then we have about 14 or 15 people meeting up in Bali. It's going to be sick. But today's video is about leadership and self-leadership. You know, one of my favorite quotes about business is from one of my good friends and mentors, Alex Sharfin. He says, if you do not yet have the business that you want, it's because you haven't become the person who can run it yet. In other words, funnels matter, marketing matters, sales matter. You've got to develop skills. You've got to hire the right people. You've got to implement the right strategy. But at the end of the day, the limiting factor to your business, your success, your scale, the sustainability of all of that is the person that you are. So I sent this message to one of my mentors, Steph, and again, she's crushing it, right? She does 10 million a year, no ads, no sales calls, team of 3. So when she speaks, I listen. And I was sharing with her the dynamic and the change of kind of leadership and self-leadership I felt over the last few months as my business has grown. And especially in the last month, I think we've added 35 clients. And I was explaining to her, I don't have any more demands on my time necessarily from those 35 clients because they're in a community program, but I felt a need to step up at a whole new level of leadership. So if you think about there are kind of 3 main aspects of scaling that I think about when it comes to the kind of non-tangible or less tangible scaling stuff. So outside of the strategy, I talk about heart, head, and hands, right? Heart is the essence of who we are. It's our emotional mastery, our self-mastery, it's our self-leadership. Our head is about our beliefs, and our hands are really about our skills, right? The things that we can actually do to affect great change in our business, copywriting, sales, coaching, etc. And one of the ways that I felt really tested is in this area of the heart, which is around my spiritual, physical, mental, emotional energy. And I was just feeling so challenged of what got me here will not get me there. And maybe you feel like in a similar place in your business. You're like, what got you to 10K might not get you to 20K. Now, the same strategy might get you there, but you have to become a new version of yourself, right? You cannot build a 7-figure business of 6-figure habits. You cannot become a 7-figure business owner without going through the work of becoming a 7-figure entrepreneur. And a lot of those things can be really hard to articulate. And so I thought I wanted to share this quick voice message from her. It's a minute, but she's super smart, so it's worth listening. And I just want to share a couple of thoughts on this idea of developing this physical, mental, emotional energy and mastery in scaling. Because for many of you, you're so externally focused, you're looking for the next hire or the next funnel or the next ad strategy, and you've been doing that for months, maybe even years. You're confused as to why you're not growing. And I've been there. I find myself there often. I'm focusing on the wrong stuff. One of the things I've realized is that so much of scaling is this internal journey, because really what's internal actually is seen by other people as external. Let me show you what I mean.
I'm so happy that you shared this, because you know what this I think is all connected to, this health piece, this physical energy piece, this physical health piece, this embodiment is also of course you're wanting to scale differently and build a different business model. And of course you're more interested in the mentorship vibe right now. And you know,
mentorship vibe is us. We were talking about the difference between coaching and mentorship. And if you didn't know, there's actually a huge difference. Coaching is really assigning people to-do lists and action items. Mentorship is about shifting beliefs. That's probably a subject for another video, but that's what she's talking about there.
What happens is as you take care of yourself more, and as you create your schedule in a way that works for you, and as you set up your life in a way where you're thriving, people are going to notice that. And they're not necessarily going to be aware that that's what they're noticing, but they're going to be like, I want Dan to be my mentor, because they can feel your health. They can feel your leadership. They can feel how solid your life feels. And that's just such an interesting thing, that you're going through an upgrade in those other areas at the same time as you're desiring more of a mentorship and closer proximity. So you're going to notice this shift of like how you're cleaning things up in all different areas of your life, and how that will be a mirror for the level of people who want to come and will come into your closer proximity.
So there was a lot that was there. I want to focus on a couple of key pieces. One of the things that's fascinating to me is how many people lead their business from a place of stress. So if we just take a really simple example for a second. When you create marketing, sales, when you coach from a place of not having enough money in the bank, you're creating from a place of stress and scarcity. And stick with me, this isn't going to be like woo-woo metaphysical. This is incredibly practical, okay? So when you don't have enough money, or you are building a business that has low profit margins, or you have low recurring revenue and every month you need to go out and hunt to get more clients to actually pay the bills, it's very hard for you to be creative in that space, to create from a place of abundance. And one of the things that's so important is in your business, you need to take care of the financial health. And so a couple of key things you need to focus on is profit margin, recurring revenue, and cash in bank. And when you fix those things, what happens is that your energy around marketing and sales actually shifts. So for me, when I focused on those things, all of a sudden, I then had clients wanting to work with me, because I remember messaging a client a while ago before he was a client, and he was inquiring about my coaching and I was answering questions. And then eventually he signs up and it's all good. And he's on his onboarding call with me and he says, dude, I knew I had to sign up with you because I realized you really didn't care if I signed up at all. You seemed so unattached to me working with you that I was like, I need that energy in my business, right? So when we take care of the financial health for a second, it allows us to create from a place of abundance, to market and sell, not from a place of lack, but from a place of actually having what we need and simply wanting more. And so this is true of every area of business. If you do not do the work of becoming the leader that has control of their emotions, that controls their thought life, that looks after their physical energy, which has been a huge journey for me this year. I've lost a bunch of weight. I've got a bunch more work to do there. If you neglect those areas, what you're doing is you're leading your business from a place of stress and a lack of health. But when you work on those things, what happens is the whole dynamic of everything you do, both in marketing and in delivery, changes. Like when I started focusing on profit, one of the first things that happened is I would create content like this, and there's no desperation in me that you on this video right now would work with me and like send me a message. I love the idea of that. That's not why I'm doing this video. That's not what I'm focused on. And so as I started to create content from this place, I would get weird messages like, dude, I love your content. I can't really describe it, but there's something different about your energy, right? I'm like, that's very interesting. And then one of the other big things that I've had to really develop is like emotional mastery. So I was explaining to Dylan before we were out for coffee, and I was like, if you have 2 clients and you lose one and you're in your first month of business, that's an emotional event that is unfamiliar and is going to cause you to lose some sleep. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, was it me? How could they leave? Or whatever it might be. That's something you've never experienced before. And it's 50% of the total clients you have. You have to figure out how to master your emotions such that the further you get on, those events throw you off less. Because when you have 100 clients and 5 of them leave in a month, you can't afford to act the same way as you did when you had 2 clients and 1 of them left. Now that sounds simple, but my point being is as you grow, the level of challenges you face grows and your ability to deal with them has to grow also. You have to develop emotional mastery. If you get a refund request, if the client you thought was going to close but didn't close, sends you the message and say like I'm not in, and all of a sudden you lose your mind and for the rest of the day you're completely out of it, you are going to be held back with the level of business that you can run because you haven't yet mastered your emotions to the level that you need to. And so I just want to leave you with this thought of thinking about this heart, head, and hands, right? The heart is the essence, right? It's your character traits, it's your emotions. Your head is your beliefs, and then your hands are your skills. If it's true that you don't yet have the business that you want because you haven't become the person who can run it yet, I would just ask you to think about the areas of your life where you feel like might be holding you back. Like what's the personal stuff that's holding you back from the business success? For me, as kind of evidence in that message I got from Steph, like the big thing for me right now is I feel completely limited by my physical energy. And that's a huge focus for me at the moment. Like, I need to dial in my sleep. I need to dial in nutrition. I need to dial in training so that when I'm showing up to videos like this, I'm showing up with full presence. When I'm showing up to a coaching call, full presence. And I haven't been doing that. Like, what got me here, I could do. What's going to get me there, that next level of business, that next season, I don't have that mastered yet. So I have to go on that journey. And for you, the same is true. In order to get to the next level, you're going to have to let some things go and embrace some new things. And there are going to be new challenges and new levels of self-mastery you need to embrace. So I know this is a bit of a random video, but I'm hoping this was helpful as that message from Steph. This thought process has been on my mind, and I know it's going to be very helpful for me in this next season. So I hope it is helpful for you too. Sending you much love from New Zealand, and we'll talk soon.